What's going on YouTube? Welcome back. Today's video we'll be going over what I learned in Snipedown's bootcamp ran by Pro Guide so I can pass down the knowledge of a Halo Pro to you. This will be a 6-part series, so make sure you like and subscribe with the bell notifications turned on so you don't miss out on these videos in the future. So today's video is going to be about fundamentals. The next 4 is going to be about each specific game type, so Slayer, Capture the Flag, Oddball, and Strongholds. And the finale will be on decision making, and I'll also be doing a final review to see if this bootcamp was totally worth it. I also want to give a shout out to all these beautiful people up here. You guys inspire me to do more content, so thank you very much for the lovely comments. I also sent in a clip for Snipedown to review, so I'm gonna post it at some point in this video. So make sure you watch the whole video so you can see Snipedown review my clip and give feedback. Maybe you guys can learn something too from it. So the first part of what we're gonna talk about in fundamentals is settings. One of the biggest things that Snipedown talks about when it comes to settings is whenever you're in a gunfight, you have to be able to have full control and accessibility without moving your right thumbstick off of the aimer thumbstick. So settings like jump, throw grenade, crouch, slide, fire your weapon, melee, sprint, and using your equipment, those are things that you need to be able to have accessible while you're in gunfights without you being able to move your right thumbstick off of your aimer. And that's so important because once you move your right thumbstick off of your aimer, it's very hard for you to be in control still while you're in a gunfight. If you have a controller that has paddles or buttons, being able to reconfigure those buttons to be any of those settings that I talked about earlier will help you while you're in a gunfight. And once you have those settings in place, practice it for at least a month, whether it's bot lobbies, academy mode, while you're in games, social games, and just get used to those settings. Another aspect that he talks about when it comes to his button layout is incorporating the drop weapon setting. So for me, I put it down as my D-pad down, but I also attached that D-pad down to one of my paddles in the back of my Elite 2. So for me personally, on the back paddles, on the back left, I have sprint, drop weapon, and then also equipment on my right side. So when I'm in a gunfight and I want to use my thruster, I'll press on my back right paddle as I'm in a gunfight. So when it comes to you creating or finding the right settings when it comes to your button layout, it's important to really incorporate all of those factors into it. When we look at other settings, he turns off vibration. It helps with your aiming, especially when it comes to people shooting at you. I used to have vibration on when it comes to Halo. When I played Call of Duty, I turned it off. And then when I came back to Halo Infinite, I turned it off as well. And I got really used to not having the vibration on. It really helped with my stability when it comes to aiming long distance or using the sniper rifle. So other settings that he has is hold to crouch. This is super, super important to have it on because when it comes to you jiggle peeking or being able to use your surroundings to be in cover, if you have to constantly push to crouch, you're gonna mess up certain situations. And then when it comes to strafing and your crouch strafing, pressing to crouch will really mess up the way that you crouch in your strafe. Hold to sprint he turns off, and I turn that off as well because it's just so much easier to just press a button and you start sprinting. Maintain sprint he also turns off. One of the biggest things when it comes to maintain sprint is when it comes to certain gun battles, if you have maintain sprint on, you could mess up that 1 or 2 seconds after you see an enemy to stop sprinting. So he turns that off especially. Auto clamper he turns off as well because when it comes to certain gunfights, when you're jumping up to a ledge, if you have auto clamber on, you automatically clamber, and the enemy, if he sees you, he can put 1 or 2 shots, which puts you at a real disadvantage right off the bat. I turn it off as well because I can jump up and start shooting right away and I don't have to clamber onto the ledge. So I turn that off. Step jump is really important to have on when you're going up against certain heights of ledges where it's very small. So when you're walking towards it, instead of doing a full jump, you do like a half jump as long as you're walking towards that little ledge. You cannot step jump if you're not walking towards the ledge. So the next thing we're going to talk about is sensitivity. So in his videos, or the way that he has it, he always has his vertical sensitivity, one sensitivity higher than his horizontal, because when it comes to when people jump or whatever the case may be, he likes that extra snappiness when it comes to throwing his crosshair up. Me personally, I like having it at the same, so I have it at 5.5. And then look acceleration. So this is something that's new to Halo Infinite that I found. And if you have look acceleration at 1, as you're moving from left to right, it's going to be a consistent movement. As you move up in look acceleration, the snappiness as you move from one side to the other side will start to accelerate a lot faster as you get to 5. Me personally, I like it at 3. I don't want to go any higher because it's just too snappy for me. But if you're the type of person that likes a consistent left and right, I would recommend bringing this down to 2 or a 1, because some pros do use it a little bit lower, but for me personally, I like it at 3. When it comes to dead zones for your move thumbstick and your look thumbstick, you had a conversation with Frosty and they talked over what was the best dead zones for move thumbstick, and which is your left thumbstick, which is 555. And then when it comes to your right thumbstick, which is your aiming thumbstick or your look thumbstick, they put it as 1, 7.5, and 1. Me personally, I like to have a little bit more rotation, further rotation from one side to the other. That's why I put it at 10. Whereas 7.5, it doesn't require you to move your thumbstick as far to reach the maximum threshold. I use a Control Freak raised thumbstick on my right thumbstick, so I have the ability to move further, but it still makes it a lot easier for myself, so that's why I have it at 10. But if you don't use it, definitely try 1, 7.5, and 1. So the second part we're going to talk about when it comes to fundamentals is aiming and movement. So when we talk about movement, one of the biggest things that Snipedown talks about is using something called a curb slide. He called it a super glide. What a noob. Just kidding. He slapped me so hard in matchmaking so many times.
What did he say?
But yeah, so a curb slide is pretty much an accelerated slide. And how we're going to be able to do it, it's going to look something like this. Nope, not that. Something like that.
Insurance policy enacted.
So that's one way. Another one's this way as well. So what we're gonna go over is how to do these slides. So pretty much the mechanics is sprint. So the idea behind these super slides is sprinting off of an elevated platform. You're gonna sprint off an elevated platform, and as soon as you land, as soon as your feet touch the ground, then you hit the slide button. See, I did it too early there. It is something that has to be planned perfectly, or you might have a delayed slide like that. Like that. But if you hit it just right, you'll be able to hit it just like that. So pretty much as soon as your feet is just about to touch, then you hit the slide button. Typically the higher the elevated platform is, the further you go. And this is something that's super useful to get yourself across the map, being able to move from like one wall to another wall without your enemies being able to hit you properly. Right, so a good example would be like this. Oh. It's very hard for your enemy to be able to hit you if you're able to hit a curve slide like that. Another reason why you want to have this type of movement, because if your team is flying from one side of the map to the other, you need to get to the ball because you only have a couple seconds left to get it. Doing these curb slides will help you get there a lot faster. It helps you rotate throughout the map a lot faster. And also you're a harder target to hit. Also, when it comes to like just general slides in general, what you want to do is if you have someone around the corner, sliding in and shooting at the enemy helps you have a little bit more of an advantage, because when someone's sliding in, it makes yourself a way harder target for you to be hit by. if you were just sliding around a corner. So instead of just walking around the corner or sprinting around the corner, slide all the way across and start shooting. You might be able to get your first shots and be able to out-BR more people. Another way you can curb slide is by running off a platform onto a slant. So just like the same techniques, just as soon as your feet touch, or literally just before they touch, you slide and you go flying. All right, this also can apply if you're running and you jump off and you jump off a slant. It'll be able to give you a nice little boost in acceleration as well. So for example, it's like that. So if you want to practice this, just go around academy mode. If you want to practice this, just go around academy mode and start flinging yourself around. Another aspect to movement is your strafe. So being able to move back and forth, making yourself a harder target, and also incorporating crouches in it. Other Halo games, the crouching wasn't an important factor, but now with Halo Infinite, being able to crouch makes yourself a way harder target to hit. And another thing that Snipedown talks about is if you have your first 3 shots and you pretty much hit them all, to make yourself a little bit more unpredictable is by adding a jump at the very end to kind of throw off your enemies. You don't want to jump early on when you're out-BRing someone, because once you're in the air, you make yourself an easier target for your enemy to hit all their 3 shots and then the final headshot. So if you do your strafing, you have your 3 shots and then you jump last one for the last shot, it makes yourself a harder target and a little bit more unpredictable as a player. Another aspect to his movement is being able to crouch jump. So every time you go into certain areas, being able to crouch jump so you don't have to mantle. So if you're in certain areas, you can practice around all the maps, is go around trying to crouch jump so that you don't have to mantle. So one of the things that Snipedown talks about when it comes to aiming is being able to aim for the chest, as it'll give you the most damage on your enemies, and then for the last shot, all you would have to do is flick up a little bit for the final shot. Other tips that he gives when it comes to aiming is being able to aim with your strafe. So being able to mirror your enemies. So if they go left, you go left, and you go right, they go right. And this will allow you to hit your shots more accurately. At the very end, when it comes to the last 3 or 4 shots, it's really about being unpredictable against your enemies so that they don't kill you first.
Trajectory.
And you have the ability to outplay your enemies. The last thing I want to talk about is something called patient aim. So what patient aim is pretty much when people have power weapons like the sniper rifle, the shock rifle, or the stalker rifle. A lot of times people play super aggressive with those guns. When you have those types of guns, you can pretty much position yourself in areas where you have crosses, where you can see your teammates. You can be a large presence wherever your teammates are, and being able to let the game come to you rather than you go to the game and give your enemies like a free power weapon pretty much. So the third aspect to fundamentals is power weapons. Snipedown talks a lot about using the sandbox in Halo Infinite. A lot of things like the grenades, the spike grenades, the dynamo grenades, the frag grenades, and the plasma grenades. These grenades are super powerful and can be super powerful in a lot of different situations. So when it comes to like the spike grenades, throwing a spike grenade in an enclosed area almost has like a shotgun blast. So if someone's one shot or someone's hiding in like lockers and bazaar, if you throw a spike grenade in there, you'll make them one shot or you'll finish them off. Things like dynamo grenades can do a lot of damage, slow down your enemies, and then also give you a lot of information if there's an enemy there. So if you throw dynamo grenades into the tree or the BR and it has clicks and it shows that you're hitting your enemies, then that's valuable information that you can give to your teammates or relay that information to your teammates so that you guys can go in for the kill, or you guys will know that that person is weak. Frag grenades are so important when it comes to Halo Infinite. You spawn with 2 and they blow up the fastest out of all the grenades. So being able to utilize your frag grenades as much as possible is so important. He talks a lot about people misusing the frag grenades, and a lot of the times when they're misusing it is typically when you're up against someone or you're fighting someone. A lot of people, what he sees that does at a lower rank is that people throw those frag grenades during gunfight. So rather than just out BRing them or just using your BR mid gunfight, they'll throw a grenade hoping that that would kill them. But in reality, that's never going to happen. So if you do have frag grenades, do it early on before a gunfight, never in the middle. And then the last grenade that he talks a lot about is the plasma grenades. And the awesome thing about plasma grenades is you can have a combo where you can do a chain reaction throw with the plasma grenades. So when you throw one and you wait like 1 or 2 seconds and you throw the second one, as the first one blows up, it'll automatically blow the second one up. So if you have that combo, you can get people out of certain situations, or you can use it to weaken your enemies a lot quicker. The second aspect to the sandbox is being able to use power weapons. So power weapons can be pretty much anything that's not the BR. They're obviously more of a top tier power weapon like the Bulldog or the Rockets or the Stalker Rifle or the Sniper Rifle. Those are like the top tier power weapons in the game. And then you also have the second tier with the Mangler, the Heat Wave, the Plasma Pistol, the Pulse Carbine, all these, the Stalker Rifle and all these other guns. And one thing that he talks about in Halo Infinite is you should be able to use these weapons in the sandbox way more often. Believe it or not, a lot of these weapons can deal a lot of damage that can make your enemies one shot, where you can switch to your BR and be able to finish them off with one headshot. So things like the Plasma Pistol, the Pulse Carbine, the Mangler, the Heat Wave, where it takes maybe 1 shot or maybe 2 shots to get them one shot, and then you pull out your BR, you drop your weapon, and then you finish them all with the BR. Another aspect to these power weapons in Halo Infinite is he talks about the spawns of these weapons. So weapons like the Shock Rifle, the Stalker Rifle, the Bulldog, and the Heat Wave, how the spawns work is if they're completely off the map, then a new one will spawn. So if someone finishes all their ammo, or say someone drops their weapon and no one picks it up for like 30 seconds and it disappears from the map, that's when one of these new guns will spawn again. Whereas other weapons like the Mangler, Plasma Pistol, the Pistol, the Needler, the Pulse Carbine, the Sentinel Beam, all these other guns, they have a 30-second respawn time automatically. So when someone picks it up, it's an automatic respawn from 30 seconds from when they pick it up. So being able to know the difference between the two can give you an understanding of when you can go and grab those weapons. And it's a good thing to communicate that to your team. If say you're out of shotgun bullets, you can communicate to your team, hey, I'm out of bullets. There's gonna be a new shotgun that pulls up. So make sure you go and grab it. The last thing that he talks about is being able to use the equipment in the game. And there's so much different equipment that you can use in the game, whether it's the grapple hook, the thrusters, the repulsor, the overshield, the camo. These are very, very important tools that can help you win gunfights and help you do a lot of cool things. Like the grapple hook, you can grab the ball or the flag towards you by using the grapple hook. You can use the grapple hook to kind of sling you into a different part of the area or help you get away in a life-death situation. Being able to use a repulsor to repulse people off the map, be able to repulse the ground so that you can go sky high. And then also the thrusters, being able to use the thrusters as much as possible. When you do use the thruster, your enemies do lose aim assist on you. So if they're not the best when it comes to the aim, using your thrusters will give you a competitive advantage to killing your enemies before they kill you. The last equipment that I wanted to talk about is also the drop ball is a really cool piece of equipment, because when you drop it down, pretty much the enemies can only shoot the square once before they can shoot you. So it can give you a competitive advantage, because when you strafe from up, down, left, right, it's going to allow your enemies to hit the shield rather than hitting you first. And when you move and you strafe from left to right, you give yourself more of an advantage to hit more shots. So being able to put this in front of a power weapon when you're going for it gives you a little bit more time to be able to get out with that power weapon, and you can start slaying. And the last part to fundamentals is combat applications. The first topic he talks about in combat applications is managing your weapon pickups. So whenever you have a chance always have a BR with you, and then also a secondary weapon that can lower your enemy's shield so that you can get a quick and easy kill. Some of these guns can be the plasma pistol, the pulse rifle or the pulse carbine, the mangler, the sniper rifle, bulldog, rockets, anything where it takes 1 or 2 shots to make them one shot. So you can start utilizing the drop weapon mechanic or swapping weapons to your BR to get that quick and easy headshot. One mistake that you need to avoid when you're managing your weapon pickups is not having 2 weapons that can lower shield. It makes it harder for you to finish off the kill if you have 2 similar like guns. For example, having a plasma pistol and a mangler versus having a plasma pistol and a BR or a mangler and a BR. So there are 5 big mistakes that a lot of players have that pro players tend to avoid. First big mistake is jumping all the time. So one thing that you want to do is avoid jumping as much as possible. Reason why: it makes yourself an easier target. And then also, if your enemy does have a sniper rifle, when you are jumping in the air, it makes you such an easy target for them to hit a body shot or a headshot. The only time you should be jumping is if you're trying to get the last final shot and becoming unpredictable for your enemies to kill you. Second big mistake is over sprinting. A lot of the times when you over sprint, the animation to get your gun up takes like a quick 1 second for you to bring it up. So what that does is it allows your enemies to get first shots or the first 2 shots on you before you can even get anything. So avoid over sprinting, and also try to avoid sprinting around people where you're trying to be sneaky, because every time you sprint, your character grunts and your enemies can hear you through their comms or through their headset. Third biggest mistake is long slides. Make your slides very quick so that it throws off your enemies. Whereas a long slide, it's easier for your enemies to adjust to your slides and be able to hit proper shots. Biggest mistake a lot of people do is mindless grenade spam. You want to be able to save your grenades. You do not want to waste them. So throwing grenades at your teammate that's fighting an enemy, you can weaken them and it makes it easier for your enemies to kill your teammate. You don't want to throw your grenades at the beginning or in the middle of a gunfight, because what happens is you might miss that grenade, which might not weaken them, while they get shots first and you're pretty much down 2 shots, whereas you can just out BR them right off the bat. Or the only time that you need to throw a grenade is at the very end of a gunfight where you know you're gonna lose. So either go for the stick or be able to bank that grenade off a wall so that after you weaken them or made them one shot, that grenade kills them. So next thing that we're going to talk about is how to maximize your output while you're in a match. So the first thing to maximize your output is use your frag grenades on every single life. Do not waste them. Do not save them. Use them on every life. They're a really important tool. So the second tip is always play for power-ups, power weapons, or anything in the sandbox, and being able to use them as much as possible so you guys can gain the advantages while you're in the match. So third tip is continuously play your life, wait for your shields to recharge, and do not ego chow. The biggest advantage or biggest thing that you can have as a teammate is staying alive so that you can help your teammates or help them spawn in a better area, etc. So the last tip to maximize your output is gain sight lines. So being able to see everywhere on the map so that you can help your teammates put damage on opponents that are close by to them, because you helping your teammates double team your opponent can help get that easy kill. And whenever you see your teammates' shields are low, swap with them and engage in a fight and use your shield as a valuable resource to win more gunfights. So there are 3 tips that Snipedown gives in this module separately from everything that we talked about. The first one is using your environment to your advantage. So what I mean by using your environment to your advantage is being able to use cover, use pillars, use any jump boxes to shield yourself from your enemies. A couple things that this does for you is it forces your enemy to make a decision whether to push you or retract from you. If they push you and they push out into an open playing field without any cover, it makes it easier for you to land so many shots while you're still in cover, and you can kill that enemy a lot easier. Also, when you're in cover, if you ever get double teamed, instead of engaging those 2 people, you can retract back into cover while you wait for your teammates to come in and help you take on those 2 enemies. So second tip that Snipedown gives is always use your equipment and always use your grenades in every single life that you had. You do not want to waste them. You might as well use as much as you can to give yourself an advantage over your opponent. So make sure you use them before you die. The third and final tip that Snipedown gives in this fundamentals module is pro players are very, very aware of where their teammates are located, and also putting themselves in a position where they have a sight line or vision of their teammates so that they can help as much as possible, put as much damage to opponents, and be able to double team from maybe across the map. So you made it to the very end of the video. We're gonna go over the clip that I sent in to Snipedown so he can review. I hope you learn a lot from it. Don't forget to like and subscribe for the next video that's gonna come out next week. And if you wanna catch me live and ask me questions about the bootcamp, I stream 4 days a week on twitch.tv/SenseiNam. So make sure you go check me out, and I'll see you live in the future. One on scoreboard.
Palms, love it. Close game.
Your one point are ready for pickup.
Ball drop.
Do not lose
Whoa.
control.
Ball drop. Ball drop. We have the ball. Grenade out.
This is a pretty high ranked honest game. I know a lot of the names in this game.
We've lost possession.
We have the ball.
Formal in a big flank. Okay, so I can already tell, like, I actually have had this issue multiple times in my scrim games, and I've just learned, like, after so many different situations and how spawns work on this map. Like, you got one kill right there. We get another kill right here on APG. So right here, you see you grab the ball and you can tell, like, you're considering rotating this, but as soon, like, we had 3 recent deaths right here. So your teammate who was at tower just left to run top center. So now the most common spawn in the game becomes back tower, like in the green area where the plasma pistol is. So as soon as you see that, like, your teammates aren't in this situation anymore, the ball should just be rotated instantly back. You kind of threw it like a little forward. In this situation, like, you also don't need to drop ball. Like, you're just kind of like letting seconds go by dropping ball, because you just got those quick kills. You can actually just walk this, and walking the ball, like, in some situations, it allows you to kind of like slow down the game a little bit, because when you start like throwing the ball forward and you really start like rushing the play, you start getting like a little bit ahead of yourself because you're focusing on, you know, the mechanics of what you're doing, and you're just like so focused on getting to a spot. Whereas when you're just like walking, you can kind of be like, okay, like, what's happening on the map? And as soon as you get these kills, and as soon as you see your teammate that kind of goes off this area, the spawn is going to be in the back here. And even if someone does spawn green, it's so good to just hold the ball on this side, especially because you don't need that much time. And if you were to just bring the ball back a little quicker, you guys would have been able to hold control of this map, because it looks like you guys are just collapsing on that side of the map, because the ball definitely got thrown a little forward. And now, you know, you're obviously getting shot from the guy that you just saw. I do love holding the ball in this spot right here. This is a good spot just to kind of like this spot is so good, especially if you get like a quick grab on the ball bottom center, because it forces the enemy team to either slate everyone else on the map and then go for you, or really overextend bottom center, or push out like outside of the map to go for you, and your teammates can get good shots on the opponent. So we're gonna keep like kind of going through this a little bit.
We have the ball. Grenade out. Ball dropped.
We've lost.
I think this is just another situation. Like, I've started to get better at this as well myself. Is like right here, you see your teammate pushing out green side, and so until you either get a call out or hear shots over here, you don't really need to prioritize this. You should be kind of focusing on like your own angles, and just kind of like imagine every single person on your team has like lines of sight in different areas, and you want to have as many of those as possible. So, you know, you're not really looking at anything here. You know, your teammate is, you know, you got a mangler that's right there you could grab. Your teammate's already here looking at this way. So like right here, you're not really like helping get information for your team. I think Formal already snuck through right here, and now he flanks you guys, flanks the ball guy, kills the ball guy, and gets past all of you just because of the lack of lines of sight overall for the team. Formal hits an overkill. Nice. I mean, I totally see the thought process. I've done this exact same thing where I start rotating ball this way, but I've learned to like recognize that much quicker just because of how many times I've been, you know, caught off guard by that specifically. I personally like the ball. I personally like having the ball back tower around this side, even having the ball by the plasma pistol, just so I can play the ball or at B. I don't like having the ball I don't like having the ball in this area at all, really. But it's not bad to get. It's not bad to get a lot of time in here. And then honestly, like when you start getting pushed, like if you start getting pushed by people who do spawn at B, it's really good to just go sit in the corner by these little sandbags by the AR window because it's hard to nade that. The enemy team really has to like overextend to get there, and you can kind of milk some time as well as kind of throw the ball in the open. Where do you like the ball, Keter? Okay, so where would you have gone instead of by Mangler then? Honestly, being by Mangler is fine. So here, so we'll go like right here. So right here, I probably would have looked to top center because like we don't look top center here when we're pushing top center. So I would have checked to see if anyone is top center, and if I didn't see anyone top center, I would have looked over here to the right side to make sure that no one is pushing up on the field.
Ball dropped.
We've lost.
Like even sitting like right on this wall and just looking top center is really good. Cool.